In keeping with my tradition of trying to level up my other classes, today we are gonna be playing some buff Dragon. Dragon happens to be my least favorite class. Well, my least played class really, not necessarily my least favorite. So today we're gonna try to get some games in and we're playing some buff Dragon, which is built around Drache in this format. If you are familiar with the more modern Drache Dragon that like sort of does a ton of damage, this is not that deck. This deck is a lot worse. We are missing some very key cards like Rock Whale, and Rune is also not buffed yet, so this deck is actually quite bad, but I'm trying to get some Dragon games in, so today let's play some buff Dragon. First, let's look at the list we are running for today. So this is the list we're playing for today. I just yoinked it from the tournament winning list, but then they had 2 copies of Rune, and A, I don't actually own any copies of Rune, so I didn't want to craft them, and B, he's not even that good anyway, so I took him out and replaced him with Gandagoza instead. Because this deck is very desperate for a finisher, without stuff like Rock Whale and without Rune being buffed, this deck just does not deal enough damage, so this is the list we're running today. Let's look at some games. This matchup against Sword here, we probably play against Balion. This matchup is quite bad because we are very reliant on our wards to not die immediately. So for the mulligan, we just look for early buff. Honestly, keeping Whimsical Mermaid there wouldn't even have been that bad because of how desperate this deck is for buffs, and there just aren't that many. So definitely keep any buff cards you find in your mulligan here. So we just pick up Drache and beating of the Dragon Wings here, and hopefully get our buffs going. We want to try to ramp up so that we can play a Prophecy Dragon, because Prophecy Dragon wins this matchup instantly if we manage to play it before they get to play Balion. Oh sorry, Prophetic Dragon I guess. Go ahead and buff it and ramp here. We of course don't keep it with ramp instead, because even if we do keep it, we are still too slow on ramp to even be able to play it before their Balion turn, so probably better to prioritize ramp. It's not even the only ward card, we also have the Coral Shark, which is not as good as Prophetic Dragon for ramping, but it might be able to get the job done. Go ahead and just buff more cards with Drache here, and then no reason to spend this right now. We might be able to buff something else's health later, which we might need. So hold on to the Howling Congregation here, we can go ahead and buff this Flame Pillar Dragon Newt. In this case we do keep the Prophetic Dragon, because I mean we could use it to ramp, but at this rate we are going to be able to play Prophetic Dragon, I think, because we have Reggie to ramp next turn. But as long as they don't have Ramia here, which they don't. Ramiel, sorry. So they drop the Archangel of Remembrance here, so that's fine. They don't ramp, which means our Prophetic Dragon will come down in time. Go ahead and just draw into our deck as well, and then we can go ahead and use Reggie to ramp. In this matchup, the Storm isn't very important, even though some matchups the Storm is important because this deck does so little damage. But you go ahead and clear their followers here. My opponent will spend the Swordsmaster Sweep, which is good because that means they have less resources to deal with Prophetic Dragon when we play it next turn, which we will. So we go ahead and trade their EO here, which is fine for us. We can go ahead and just drop the Prophetic Dragon here and pass. There's basically no way Balion is getting through it this turn, so we are safe for now. If we can top deck another war like a Coral Shark, then we are in business. We'll go ahead and evolve the Mysteria and Balion here and clear one Prophetic Dragon, and they will play Dramatic Retreat, which means that we still have 2 wards. Ideally we would like to have 1 more ward here, but I don't really think it's happening, so just go ahead and play a Tempest Dragon here and evolve it. Buff our followers to hopefully look for lethal next turn, and then drop the Whimsical Mermaid as well to draw more cards. We do pick out the Flame Pillar Dragon Newt, which is nice for having lethal. Coral Shark is a good ward. We have a pretty wide board for their Mysteria and Balion to miss on their Fanfare effect as well. See that they do trade here, and they do have another Dramatic Retreat. And then they use Brothers United to clear my Prophetic Dragon, and then they can't do anything, so this is just lethal. So that's it for this game. Let's move on to the next one. Our next game is against Shadow, and we are going first again. This deck's quite bad, so it does rely on high rolls, which is why there's a lot of going first games, but Once again, for our early game, we just keep our buff cards and toss the rest. We are definitely very luck reliant with this deck, so yeah. You're gonna see a lot of high rolling in this game. Can't be helped, you don't win without high rolling with this deck. 2 pass here, this is probably gonna be last word Shadow. We just go ahead and ramp. We have a Flame Pillar Dragon which we can buff with Howling Conflagration. Then it can evolve for free, so we can look for that eventually. For now, we just go ahead and use the Beating of the Dragon Wings to buff our cards more, so that a lot of the buff payoffs work off having 2 extra health, so getting that as fast as possible is the priority here. You can go ahead and buff the Flame Pillar and then use it to storm their face for 5 damage, which is very nice. There's no particular reason to rush playing Prophetic Dragon this turn. I think it's better to just go for Flame Pillar to get some damage going on their face. If I did that, my opponent will just go ahead and drop the Celeste Omega, which is completely fine. We can go ahead and use the Prophetic Dragon to ramp, and then this can make Reggie get Storm. We evolve Reggie here for a nice 5 damage face. Now if my opponent doesn't heal, they just die to get the Goza, which is I guess the main goal of this deck. It looks like Drache is the main card of this deck, but actually it's just the storm damage cards like Flame Pillar Dragon and Reggie and Gandagoza. Although of course Drache does do damage as well, but I think a lot of time you're accelerating Drache. And you don't draw him that much because it's like sucks at drawing cards. We'll trade here and they don't heal, so they are just dead to Gandagoza. So as you can see, very high roll-y deck here, very high roll-y game. Let's move on to one more game. For our last match for today, it's against Rune, and apparently I'm going first again. I didn't realize I picked 3 going first games, but this is fine. It's a high roll-y deck, so I'm not too concerned about giving it the most fair representation ever or anything. Once again, for our mulligan, we just keep our buff cards. Go ahead and accelerate the Drache, put it back in the deck so that when we play these prime conflagrations here, they actually do buff the Drache we put back in. Then we can hopefully use Drache for something later on. This time though, we do play the Howling Conflagration on Whimsical Mermaid instead, so that we can draw with her next turn to draw 2 cards, because as you can see, our hand's very empty. We go ahead and draw the Whimsical Mermaid here, put a body on board to start pressuring face as well as draw more cards. My opponent will play the Authoring Tomorrow here as well as the Covenant Mage, which is fine, we don't really care that much. We'll use Conflagration to buff and then Dragon Wings to draw a card here. We're going to go ahead and trade. We can crystallize Tiamat Omega here, but I think it's better to save it in case they decide to go wide with a bunch of Crystal Mages and stuff, so we do hold on to the Tiamat Omega for now. It's also Tiamat Omega is also very good combined with Drache, because if you can keep a Drache alive for 1 turn, it's a lot of value. We do top deck Tempest Dragon here, so we just go ahead and evolve that to buff our cards. When we draw a card, we pick up the Coral Shark here, which is very nice. Use it to hide a follower behind ward next turn. Hopefully pressure my opponent that way. Opponent will play their end here and they will go to 20 cards. So they will be able to clear my Tempest Dragon, unfortunately. It's kind of expected though at this point, so that's fine. We have Flame Pillar, so we'll just go ahead and pressure them in the face with Flame Pillar. I can drop the Coral Shark to protect my Flame Pillar as well. Sorry. And hopefully look at a lethal if some followers survive this turn, but we will have to see. Someone does play the Greya here. We will evolve the Greya as well. Use Rending Blast to clear my Coral Shark and they trade. They do leave the Flame Pillar alive though, which is unfortunate for them because that means combined with Reggie, this is going to be lethal. So that's it for this game as well. Surprisingly, Drache didn't do anything this video. It's mostly just been Reggie and Flame Pillar Dragon Mute and Gandagoza putting in the work, but I guess this is how this deck really works. So that's it for this game. That's it for the video today. The games all ended up being high roll-y because the other games are all losses. So yeah, this deck's not very good at all. I definitely wouldn't recommend crafting this at all. As you can see, it's also a very expensive deck for how low performance it is. Kind of regret crafting this, but I guess I wanted to get some dragon games in to see how it goes. And yeah, this deck's a lot worse than I expected. So that's it for today's video. See you next time. Bye bye.